Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais. This is for the week ending the 21st of March, 2025. Wow, as Kathleen just reminded me, spring is just around the corner, but we still have a few cold days ahead of us. Anyway, good morning, Kathleen. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Peter, and thank you also very much for tuning in to our show. We so appreciate having you.
So, do you want to go straight into your deep dive? You've got something interesting to talk about this morning, haven't you?
I certainly do, Peter. It's the study that links fiber consumption to
Hmm.
epigenetic changes with anti-cancer effects. This is an article from Mercola, and we will share that article below this video. So let's just dive right in. So, what exactly am I talking about here? Well, according to a study published in Nature Metabolism by scientists investigating gene activity, certain molecules from fiber appear to latch onto specific regions in your DNA. This means you get more digestive support. Your body's own genetic processes are influenced by the fiber on your plate, if you can believe that. So, this doesn't necessarily mean fiber alone stops cancer, but it suggests that certain molecules from fiber help guide cells away from harmful pathways. So, grains, vegetables, and fruits containing fiber help maintain everything from your heart function to cellular repair. They are tied to hormone regulation, immune support, and overall metabolic stability. So, it may reduce estrogen reabsorption, lowering the risk of hormone related cancers like breast cancer. So they're saying in this article that in several studies, people with high fiber consumption had reduced likelihood of gastric cancers or stomach cancers, in other words, ovarian and endometrial cancers, as well as breast cancers. So one explanation offered across several discussions within the umbrella review was that dietary fiber might reduce estrogen reabsorption. So
Hmm.
there you go. So here are 5 steps to safely add fiber into your life. Begin with gradual carbohydrate increases. So it says here, start by aiming for around 200 to 350 grams of carbohydrates per day. And start with simple, easy to digest carbs. So if your gut is sensitive or compromised, avoid jumping straight into whole grains or raw vegetables. Instead, begin with easier to digest carbohydrate sources like white rice, whole fruits, or juices with pulp. And it says to support your gut with dextrose water if needed. So if you experience extreme bloating, intense discomfort, or chronic irregularity, consider using dextrose water or glucose water, in other words, for a short time. Sipping small amounts throughout the day, it says here, can help stabilize energy levels without giving your gut, while giving your gut a time to heal, and then gradually introduce fiber-rich foods. So once your gut starts to feel more stable, it says begin by adding more fibrous carbs after white rice and your whole fruits. Try root vegetables before progressing to leafy vegetables like or leafy greens and whole grains, and expand your diet with a variety of sources. Once your digestion feels balanced, meaning bowel habits, bloating, and overall comfort are all under control, it says diversify your fiber sources. Slowly introduce the non-starchy vegetables, and then starchy options like sweet potatoes or squash, legumes, and even whole grains. So there you have it. Increase your
There we go.
intake, and it could have some anti-cancer effects, Peter. Who knew?
Very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Mhm.
And it makes sense because, again, I keep going back to this, my experience in Africa, where tribal people who live on not completely vegetarian, but they don't eat a lot of meat and they eat a lot of raw and lightly cooked vegetables tend not to get as much cancer as people on Western diets, right? And
Interesting.
and a lot of the people in equatorial Africa, in like the Congo and those areas, eat a lot of tropical fruit because it's so easily available, mangoes and all sorts of things, pawpaws. So I guess that they are getting a lot of fiber into their traditional diets, and they tend to have a lower. This is anecdotal. I can't prove it with statistics, but I just know that I saw a lot fewer cancer cases in Africa than I do in Western society.
Sure.
So makes sense. Makes sense.
Yep.
Well, thanks for that, Kathleen. Good one.
Yeah.
So when you started on that, I thought, does she want me to start eating grass and stuff? But for fiber. But I see what you mean now. Good. Some people would argue about increasing carbohydrates, of course. Some of the other
Well, I
experts we've
know.
had on the show. So,
Yeah, when it comes to diet, Peter, there's a lot of controversy out there and there's a lot of different opinions. And that's what's so confusing. You've got your people that are just keto diet, follow the
mhm,
carnivores diet, they follow certain, and they swear by them. They swear
mhm.
by them. But, um, I think everything in moderation, I think is.
Absolutely. I think that's the secret. We need carbohydrates. We can't. I don't believe we can go completely without carbohydrates. So everything in moderation, as you say. Okay, now what have you got for us on the health tip? You being
Well,
spring, and I know you've been busy spring cleaning your house. So what are you going to recommend everyone does now?
Well, Peter, as you mentioned, spring is just around the corner, and what a great time to cleanse your body, not just your house, but your physical house. And this is what I'm doing right now.
Wow, look at that. Look
Yeah.
at that. Whole
So,
selection there.
and these are from Dr. Morse, of course. And he has kits that you can buy online that are specifically detox kits. And we're going to provide
Hmm.
a link below this video to his products. And if you put in Yakking Show in the discount code, you will get a discount. But just to give you an idea of what I'm doing, Peter, um, always, 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 always part of the detox process, you always incorporate like tinctures for kidneys as well as lymphatics,
Hmm.
because that's key, making sure that your channels of elimination are working properly. So they really, Dr. Morse is a huge advocate of cleaning out the kidneys and the lymphatic system. So I've got, of course, those two, but I also have things to support the liver.
Hmm.
I have, there's my lymph drainage, and I'm doing actually a female tonic. So this is for the ladies out there that that have issues with hormones or with just general, their female parts. There you go. Something to help with that. And also there's more kidney bladder. And here's one for the brain and the nervous system.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm helping my brain.
Yeah. Do they do? I would probably need a big bottle of that if I was to.
Peter. And then, of course, my GI broom. I
Yeah.
can't go without my GI broom, which we've covered many times in these wrap-up videos, Peter. But I just love, love, love this product. And that's about it. And of course, we do the kidney tea, and then there's the heal all tea that we've talked about in the past as
Yeah.
well. But anyways, Peter, we've interviewed, we've had the great pleasure of interviewing. I can't believe that how long ago now that we interviewed Dr. Morse himself?
Oh, about
It was
nearly a year and a half ago, huh?
it was a December, I believe that. I believe it was December 2023 that we
Yeah.
interviewed him. And oh my gosh, if anybody is interested in doing a cleanse, a real cleanse, you should listen to that video with Dr. Morse. He will have you convinced. And we're going to provide a link to that full video below this video
We
because
will do
it
that.
was one of our most successful videos, I think, Peter. I mean,
Is
Dr. Morse had published it on his website, our
yeah.
video, and we had almost 20,000 views
Right.
of that video. So,
Yeah. We'll certainly put that link in there. So sorry, Kathleen. Any more on the
nope,
health?
that's it. On to you.
I've got to say what when you were talking about female. What did you say? Remedies for female problems. It reminded me of this old story where this old farmer who lives with his elderly wife, his daughter, and a couple of granddaughters in the same house. And he's in the bathroom cabinet one morning looking for his pills, and he gets this bottle of pills. And one of his granddaughters walks in and says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I've got to take my pills." She says, "Don't touch that. That's for female trouble." He says, "Well, I've got enough of that." Bomb. So
That's cute.
it's a bit weak, but it's amazing how one word, like you mentioned, female troubles, one word dredges back a memory for like 50 years ago. Anyway, enough of that frivolity. Let's talk about what happened on the show this week, Kathleen. So we had a really interesting guest. We published the episode on Tuesday, and that was Thea Trussler from Kathleen's favorite country after Canada, Ireland.
Yeah.
Thea is a Canadian who moved to Ireland a couple of years ago, I think, and her speciality is training assistance dogs to help people with anything from ADHD, autism, some debilitating condition that renders them in need of help. And she related some stories of dogs, and they're not all pedigree or not all Labradors. There was one mongrel from a pound or rescue center that its owner or its patient was a woman who tended to have seizures or pass out on the floor and needed help immediately. And this little dog would jump on her chest, and then it would go off and get the medicine bag with her pills in it. And if that didn't work, it would go right across the house and get her husband to come. I thought that was incredible. Yeah. And she has more stories like that. So she is a qualified person for assisting in many mental health problems and especially bringing in companion animals, dogs particularly, to help. So have a
Yeah.
look at that episode.
Yeah.
It's a really very interesting episode. And
She
then
is
coming up,
she is
yeah,
a very, I just want to jump in. She is
yeah,
a
sure.
special individual. And by the way, Peter, she moved to Ireland in 2020.
Was it that long ago?
It was
Wow.
that long ago. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And but she is such a special individual that has such a connection with animals.
Yep.
And I mean, if there is a dog whisperer, she would be that.
It would be that. Yeah. Yeah. She's
Sorry
really
to
good.
interrupt you, Peter. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. And not only did we publish an episode this week, she gave us an article for our blog. So there is a blog post by her with some pictures of her dogs in there, and she goes into more detail than she does on the episode. So have a look at both of those. In 2 weeks' time, we'll have my namesake, Logan Wright from Greco Gum, talking about mastic gum, which comes from a special tree on the island of Chios, I think, in the Mediterranean, Greek island in the Mediterranean. That's an interesting one, and he talks all about the benefits of mastic gum. 2 weeks after that, we'll have a very hot and spicy episode with Dr. Carol Rems, who talks about how to have a better sex life after menopause. That applies to women, obviously, but interesting for men and women. That's who's coming up on the Yakking Show. And as always, we got this list of really interesting guests. So to make sure you don't miss out, hop onto the website, yakkingshow.com, and sign up for our newsletter. We only send you one email a week, tell you who's on this week, who's coming next week. I must mention our featured author. Our featured author this week is Ellie Leclerc, who was in episode 337. That was late last year, I think. And she's produced a new book, and it's a book for children, and especially adopted children. And the book's title is Adoption, A Beautiful Fulfillment of Life. It's aimed at children, adopted children, and particularly parents of adopted children, to help them prepare for the inevitable questions: Are you my mummy and are you my daddy? So Ellie is a brilliant educator. She's had a whole career of nursing and especially special needs people and Alzheimer's patients. So it's a good book to get. And Kathleen, that's it from me. So it is back to you.
Well, thank you all so very much for tuning in. And until next week, take care, everyone. Bye bye.